Hi everyone, I hope you're doing okay. I want to share a few thoughts today with you about wedding preparation. Yes, my son recently got married, and so that's part of it. That's the present wedding preparation that I want to talk about. But I want to talk about past wedding preparation and future wedding preparation too, because you're involved in it. Present wedding preparation. Many of you have been involved in weddings. You know what it takes. My son's wedding was no different. 10 days ago, he got married after several delays because of COVID, but he and Abby prepared. They are now man and wife. They made it through the long wait. They made it through the long, sleepless nights of worry and frustration, and they prepared themselves. They are now wedded. Present. Past weddings. The Jewish customary wedding was quite interesting, and I'd like to share a few thoughts with you if you don't mind. The groom, the man who found a woman, what he would do is he would write out this contract in a desire to have this woman as his wife, and it was called a ketubah. And that was the contract that he would write to say, this is how I'm going to compensate. In other words, pay the father of the bride, and this is my commitment to love the bride. And so the groom or the would-be groom would write it out to give to her father as, kind of like, will you take this, will you give permission for me to marry your daughter? If it was accepted, if that contract was accepted, then what would happen is the bridegroom would pour a glass of wine and set it down, a cup of wine, and if the lady received the wine and took a drink from it, then that meant the father and she would accept and receive that contract, that marriage proposal. If she refused to drink from that cup, then bad news for him. He was out of luck. Okay, but if she did drink from that cup, if she did accept the proposal, then the woman would then wait at her dad's house for the groom to come and collect her. And one day the groom would come and collect her. The groom would then leave and he would go back to his father's house because he was still living at his dad's house. And he would tell the woman before he left, these were the words in Jewish tradition, I am going to prepare a place for you, and I will return for you when it is ready. He would then go and he would build an additional room to his dad's house called the Honeymoon Room. And the Honeymoon Room was just that. It was a place that he would go when he came back for his bride, and he would take his bride and they would go into that honeymoon room and consummate their wedding and begin their celebration of wedded bliss. Very much like I'm sure Carrington and Abby are doing right now. My son and his wife. The son, wouldn't necessarily know when he was going back to get the bride, because he'd have to build the room, and then he would have to get his father's authorization to go back and get the bride. So it was a very common phrase for the son to say, only my father knows the date of my wedding. The son didn't really even know the date of his wedding, only the father. And the bride, remember, she's back at her house waiting for the groom to come get her. Okay? When the wedding time came, okay, the groom and his attendants, his groomsmen, would go to the lady's house, the bride's house, and there at the bride's house, the bride had been faithfully waiting for who knows how long. But by her bedside, from the day the groom left till the time that the groom came back, by her bedside, she had kept a lamp and her veil and a few other things that she would take. She kept them handy so that when that groom came to get her, because she didn't know when he was coming, when that groom came to get her, she would have her lamp, she would have her veil, and she would have those other sundry items. Also, from the moment the groom left to the time that the groom came back, the bridesmaids of the bride would have to be waiting also. The bridesmaids, those selected ones to stand with the bride at her wedding, would have to have their lamp and would have to have oil in their lamp. So it was a big old waiting game, very much like Carrington and Abby. My son and his wife had to have this waiting game to go through their wedding. We're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. Well, in Jewish tradition, the bride and the bridesmaids waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, not knowing when the groom was going to come for them. When the groom did come, he would get his attendants, his groomsmen together, and he would approach the bride's house. And again, this had to be at the father's release. And he would give a shout when he was getting close to the house, and they would sound the shofar. That would be the signal to the bride and her attendants, get ready, the bridegroom's coming. And they would all stir and all gather and all get ready to go out to meet the bridegroom who was coming down the road to the bride's house. And they would greet one another, they would hug one another, and the groom would take her back with her bridesmaids, and all of them, the groomsmen, the bride, the groom, would walk down the road back to the groom's house, where they would go into the wedding chamber, consummate their marriage, come out and have a 7-day feast. They would be then wedded. They would be married. All the preparations had been complete. 7-day celebration. Now, how does that fit to us? We have past wedding, we have current wedding. How about the future wedding? The future wedding comes to Matthew 25, and let's just tie it in. The story of Matthew 25 is of 10 maidens who had lamps. They were the bridesmaids. They were waiting for the bridegroom to come. And it's interesting to me that some of the bridesmaids had, well, let's put it the positive way. All of the bridesmaids had their lamp. But when the bridegroom came, 5 of the 10 did not have enough oil. Here's what it says in Matthew 25. It says that there were 5 that had lamps with no extra oil, and there were 5 that had lamps with extra oil. So here they are waiting for the bridegroom. All 10 of them and the bride. And it all says they all fell drowsy and fell asleep. They got tired of waiting for the bridegroom. Very much like Carrington and Abby got tired of waiting, frustrated. These, in Matthew 25, got tired and fell asleep. They did, all of them, even the bride, all 10 of them. And when the sound came at midnight, when that call, that shofar, that shout came, the bride got up, got the stuff that she had closed. She was prepared. She was prepared. She was ready. She got it ready, and the bridesmaids went, and 5 of them got all their stuff ready. It says that they all trimmed their lamps, and they all woke up. So all 10 of them woke up. Yay, he's coming. Yay, finally the day has arrived. And they went out, but 5 of them said, hey, we don't have enough oil. We don't have enough oil to light our lamps all the way back to the groom's house. We're going to run out. And they turned to the ones who had oil and said, give us some of what you have. And the ones that had oil, extra oil, who were prepared, said, we don't have enough for us to get back to the groom's house, and we don't have enough for you. We can't share. You need to go buy some more. Go buy some more oil. And so 5 of the maids left to go buy oil. And while those 5 left, the groom came, sucked up the bride and her attendants, went into the father's house and slammed the door shut. 5 were left outside, unprepared. 5 went in, the bride and groom went in, and they celebrated. So what's the future wedding we're looking to? Well, it's Jesus coming back. But in the meantime, are we ready? Do we have extra oil? Are we filled up? Do we have enough? I'm challenging you. Jesus is coming back, and we need to be ready. In the future and today, be ready. Have extra oil. Let your light shine. Be ready, for the shout of the bridegroom is going to come. Be ready. Are you prepared? Go with God.